I've been diagnosed with a prolapse. What does that mean for exercise?
So firstly, I would say that every individual is different. So there's no one size fits all. You can carry on exercising, but that may look a little bit different, especially initially, until you start to gauge what might flare things up for you, or what you're happy doing and what you feel confident with. The benefits of exercise for both our mental and physical health are really significant. So we need to think about that before saying, don't do this, don't do that. Your symptoms of prolapse might anyway naturally ebb and flow, and you may, and it's going to be about potentially adjusting things according to how you feel, and other factors might also influence your prolapse. Say if you've had a really bad night's sleep, you might be more aware of it one day, and so you might adjust your exercise that day accordingly. And there are other things that you might want to think about, which you might have already spoken to our colleagues about, for instance, pessaries that you might be able to then use in order to be able to focus on your exercise.
Okay. Are there things I can't do because I have a prolapse?
In short, not necessarily, but you need to meet your body where it is now, and then you need to build up your tolerances so that your pelvic floor and your body can accept greater capacity to load. So, for example, running, we'll all agree that that's quite a high impact exercise. And for a weak pelvic floor, that might induce some symptoms of prolapse. But toleration to impact can be built up over time. There's some really good guidelines that have been written by Tom Goon, Granny Donnelly, and Emma Brockwell, and they're called the Return to Running guidelines. And they're pitched to postnatal women, but actually they're great for anyone with any sort of prolapse or pelvic floor symptoms. And they recommend that anyone sort of returning to running or starting running with any pelvic floor symptoms should build up to a 3 out of 5 pelvic floor strength. And by seeing a pelvic floor physio, they can assess your strength and guide you on how to improve the strength and coordination of your pelvic floor. And then sort of adding in impact building moves, and I'll demonstrate a couple. So when getting people to return back to various forms of impact exercise, such as running, lifting at the gym, I quite like to use some impact building activities to see how their symptoms are and to kind of improve their threshold. So with running, it's about the sort of heel strike that causes the impact. So I quite like doing a heel drop. And if you can kind of maintain your pelvic floor engagement as your heel strikes the floor, that's a nice exercise to do. Side toe taps, again, a little bit of impact, but kind of changing the direction. So your legs are coming a little bit wider apart, that can often challenge the pelvic floor a little bit more. And then for someone who likes skipping or kind of double unders, kind of CrossFit stuff, a kangaroo hop can be quite nice. So again, bending down, again, you can change the depth and the height of the jump, but just jumping. So, there we go. And there's a study by Fauna et al. In 2020, and it looked at 3,500 women and looked at women that didn't exercise, women that exercised lifting light weights, so kind of under 15 kilograms, moderate weights, and then heavy weights, so over 50 kilograms. And actually the people in the moderate and heavyweight lifting category had less prolapse symptoms overall than the people that lifted the lighter weights or who were more sedentary. So that just goes to show that, being active and lifting weights and running doesn't necessarily increase your symptoms.
Okay, super, thank you. So if I am symptomatic, what activities may be better to do?
So we alluded to this earlier, but potentially think about and learn what flares up your individual symptoms, because what activity is good for you might not be the same as the next person. You may initially want to think about choosing lower impact exercise and gradually building your confidence and tolerance with this, and just then analysing yourself how you feel afterwards, and whether it has flared things up. If it's going well and it hasn't, then you can then gradually potentially increase impact or time and duration that you do it. no exercise, as we said, is kind of one size fits all. It might well be learning to be creative with your exercises and doing things that you might not have done before. And obviously that's again where physio can help. Seeking help with physio, we can guide and tailor things specific to you rather than you feeling like you're just on your own to get on with it, basically. But yeah, there's hope for nearly everyone.
That's fab, thank you. And Emily, can I modify activities if I'm symptomatic to enable me to continue doing them?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, pretty much any activity you can kind of lower the impact. So for example, if we take a squat, if a squat makes you feel symptomatic, you might want to think about reducing the load. So if you're lifting a weight with a squat, you could reduce the load that you're lifting. You could reduce the range of movement of the squat. So for example, a shallower squat is less likely to induce symptoms. You can reduce the number of repetitions. You can reduce the distance of your feet apart, so narrow the stance of the squat. So a narrower stance squat, for example, will induce less symptoms than maybe a wider stance. And then looking at other sort of gym activities, so sometimes things like a deadlift or sort of the rope pulling, that puts you in a bit of a flex position that can put more pressure down on the pelvic floor. So those sort of things usually induce more symptoms. So again, just reducing, again, sort of the intensity, the load, the frequency of those things, and maybe adding in some more upright things like the squat to kind of counterbalance that as well. And again, sort of with the running, something like a couched 5K can be really handy when people are kind of getting back into running after feeling quite symptomatic. So you're just kind of, increasing the distance gradually so that your pelvic floor and body can adapt.
Super. Thank you very much.
If you'd like to come and see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, if you're having any symptoms of prolapse, urinary leakage, or would like a pelvic floor exam or help to return to exercise, you can self-refer into our service and the details will be at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, you can see your GP who can also refer you.